Pull up a chair. Yeah. We cut that cloth. Mind on freedom. Still in the talk. Welcome to the Chop House, where we break that script apart. Shopping love, shopping love, carving futures from the dark. From the block to the boardroom, we gon' build this brick by brick. With the spiritual thought leader, turning pressure into gifts. Black gold in the bloodstream, old pain in the bone, turn chains into cheat codes, turn maybe to our own. We talk vision, talk village, talk healing in the mix. Talk that on your back, talk that on your bricks, yeah.
Welcome to the Chop,
where we break that script apart. Sharpen love, sharpen love,
sharpen mouth,
carving futures from the dark. From the block to the boardroom, we gon' build this brick by brick. With a spiritual thought leader, turning pressure into gifts. Pull up every generation, pull a seat for the youth, pass a mic like an heirloom. Every word, living proof. We talk money, talk mindset, talk joy as a right. Every cut is a compass, every story is life.
Welcome to the Chop,
where we break that script apart. Sharpen love, sharpen love,
sharpen mouth,
carving futures from the dark. From the block to the boardroom, we gon' build this brick by brick. With a spiritual thought leader, turning pressure into gifts.
So tap in, don't tap out. When the world feels like a test, it's the Chop House, Chop House.
Let's see. Oh Lord, bless me indeed, Lord. My territory. Oh Lord, bless me. If you don't mind, Lord. Increase for the whole house. Father, we pray for increase, God. We need you to enlarge our territory. Let's add a third verse. Why don't you say promote? Promotion. Father, we pray for promotion, God. We need you to enlarge our territory. I got one more. Try to get what you say. Say, God, you can trust us to expand. Expand me. Expand us. Father, we pray for expansion, God. We need you to enlarge our territory. God. Whoa, Lord. Bless us indeed. We'll wait right here. We'll walk in discipline. Stretch us, give us more. We align with you. We align with you. Have your way in our lives. Do what you wanna do. Do what you wanna do. Do what you wanna do. Expand us, God. Yeah. Expand us, God. Yeah. Promote us. We'll wait on your promotion. God, we pray for increase. Father, we pray for increase. Let there be no lack, God. Let it overflow. Let it fall on my neighbor. Let it fall on my bloodline. Let it fall on my legacy. Legacy, legacy. Legacy, legacy. Legacy, legacy. We believe you for promotion. We believe you for increase. We believe you for expansion. Hey. Oh, Lord. Bless us. Lord. Bless us, last time. Bless us indeed. Act like you already got it. I dare you to bless him and say, bless him and say, it's yours for the asking. It's yours for the asking. It's yours for the saving. Hey, save us, save us.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. I want to welcome everybody to the Chop House on tonight. I am the spiritual thought leader, Regina L. Stillman, and I'm so glad that you joined me on this fine day. Cassandra Woke, I see you coming on in here, and it's time to chop it up. I want to stop and just once more and again appreciate you and your son for helping whoever that was in need on the other day. I appreciate. This is what the Lions do. It's more than just talk. It is a reality that God is using us in various different ways to bring about change, share the love, be that connection to God that people are looking for. I want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. I know you didn't do whatever way you aided my sister out on the other night, but I just want to say thank you for letting your light shine, because that's definitely what that experience is all about, being that light that can shine in the midst of darkness and help people to find their way. And I want to say thank you. Truck driver just came in. That's my brother, and I love you. Come on in here, and nothing but mad love to you. You know, it won't stop. Listen, it's gonna be there even beyond eternity. Stacy 546, my twin, is in the room. Nothing but mad love coming to you. That's my twin right there. Love me some you. Coming on up, and I want to appreciate these two sisters. They got in here quick, fast, and in a hurry. Diane the BX came in, and I appreciate you. Is that how you pronounce that? I've always wondered if that's actually the pronunciation that you utilize with the spelling of your name. And of course, Chef Nobi, that's my girl right there. They came in the door right off the bat, talking and blessing me real good. And I want to say thank you to everybody that's in the room. To those that are not in the chat, but you're in the room, I want to say thank you so much for being here. Okay, I wanted to make sure. Thank you for coming. We are in for some convo tonight. We are going to pick up where we left off on the other night. We're talking about attachments. And again, as I mentioned in the last stream, that's an area that I believe the world has an issue with right now, because the wickedness, the evil, the lack of caring that we see manifesting. I believe, this is my personal belief, that people are able to do that and be the way that they are because they are disconnected. We tend to live disconnected one from the other. And my goal is to see us connect, but you got to first connect. We talk about spirituality, that connection to God is, if I can say it this way, for those of you that are in the room right now, and you know me, excuse me, my allergies are cutting up. It's really doing something here in Kansas City. But I want to engage your mind to think, as I said, spirituality in this hour is not looking for something outside of yourself. Spirituality is internal. It's something about the transformation of you and your internal self coming into a connection with God where it is fluid, where you have that flow and it's not inhibited. It's not, there's nothing hindering it. We're trying to remove all the hindrances so we can fly. Again, going back to my sister's analogy of flying high. If you want to fly higher, you've got to absolutely reduce the weight and the drag. And again, I'm talking aerodynamics here. You got to reduce the weight and the drag, and you have to optimize the thrust and the lift. You got to reduce the weight and the drag, and you have to optimize the thrust and the lift. So as we're talking about ourselves, and even as we start talking about attachments, I want us to understand that many times the attachments that we have, or the attachments that we don't have, or the state and the kind of attachments that we have, often become either thrust and lift, or it tends to become weight and drag. So I think it's very, very important that we have a really clear understanding about attachments. Going back to slavery for people of color, I think it became common for Black folk especially to wear attachment very loosely, because you never knew when you were going to be separated from your loved ones. You didn't know if you were going to be sold off on the auction block, if you'd be separated from your parents, from your siblings, from anybody that you knew, really. And I think that we still operate in some level of shell shock, if you will, in that area. And I think attachment can be very difficult. And when I say even trust, I'm not just identifying whether a person is trustworthy, but can you trust that the relationship is not going to be severed beyond your control? That's a real issue as well. I think from myself, and I'm not going to talk about myself tonight like I did on the other night. I don't mind sharing, but this isn't the let Regina talk about Regina's life scenario. I'm just trying to pull in some different aspects of how this information relates to me and be transparent with that. I know with me, and I'm going to say, my mother's mother passed away 3 days after her 12th birthday. And my mother used to almost get into a cadence when she would tell this story, and she told it repeatedly ever since I can remember. Even predating me going to school, I remember my mother talking about, and I'm sure it was a very traumatic and powerful change in her life. And there were some other situations there that existed in the family as well that would have heightened that. So I'm sure it was a very, very devastating. Come on in here, J. Trey. Good to see you, fam. So much love to you. Come on in the house. And so my mother would often repeatedly tell the story of how her mother died 3 days after her 12th birthday. And this was what I'm saying when I talk about trust. Sometimes, and again, a lot of our imprint, we'll talk about that a little bit on tonight. A lot of the imprint that we carry and don't even realize, a lot of that imprint was passed to us when we were very, very small children. Some of it we may not actually be able to consciously recall. But in this instance, I do recall. And when I say trust becoming a factor, I found myself in a state of dread. I could not trust I did not trust that 3 days after my 12th birthday or somewhere around that time frame, my mother was going to die. And my mother was very sickly when I was growing up. And it's amazing to me how my father ended up having a stroke sometime in 1986. And my mother almost rose up off of a sick bed to take care of my father until he passed and then lived 25 additional years. But I can remember as a child, I didn't trust that I was not going to relive the same scenario that my mother had with the loss of her mother. So I didn't trust that I was going to have a mother into adulthood. So when I talk about trust, I'm not just talking about whether someone is trustworthy or not. I'm talking about trusting elements and aspects of the process that can create anxiety and dread and fear in us that we carry, and that shapes us and formulates what kind of relationships we do or don't have, based off of whatever those imprints might be. And as I said, we'll talk about imprinting a little bit later on. But that's what I mean when I say trust. I'm not just talking about, somebody's not trustworthy. I'm talking about, can we really trust the process, whatever that process is? We carry that baggage because that's our lived experience. And when you've got a lived experience that you're trying to battle with, or you're trying to live with, maybe it's not a battle for you, but some of those areas do become struggles that we carry throughout life, and it can become a battle. But when you have lived experiences, that experience is real. That's why I said my experience of really coming into a place of real intense grief and having to deal with that grief face to face. It just was staring me in the face and it wasn't going anywhere. And I had to deal with the grief and the loss. And that place, as hard as it was, really put me in the posture to begin to really change how I looked and how I operated and my perception of God. Matter of fact, I'll start right here, because there was something in me that was like in my place and time of aloneness. I wasn't lonely. And let me clarify that, because a lot of times, and there are people that are lonely. I don't have a problem. There's no negative energy coming out at you if you are lonely. If that's your experience, there's nothing negative about that. I'm just trying to clarify my aloneness does not translate to loneliness. I can, probably because of imprints on my life and the way that I tend to operate in attachment, I can be very, very comfortable completely to myself and isolated. So that part is a part of who I am. There are times when I do want to not be alone, but I can function very well in a place of being alone. So that put me on a path where, now this is kind of where my spirituality started. Laying out prostrate before you too, Stacy. Come on, I see you, and some others may really kind of relate to what I'm saying here as well. And feel free to put your lived experiences in. I'm talking and sharing some of mine, but please share some of yours if you want to do so. But that grief and that place of aloneness put me in my journey spiritually. Because there's something about when you don't have any crutches at all, when you don't have any energy and outside forces that are deflecting or reflecting one way or the other way in your life, and it's just you and God. That is a very interesting place to be. So what I found was that's where my spiritual journey began to take on. First, my posture was one, and I'm just sharing some of this because some of you may be trying to figure out, how do I get there? And you don't have to replicate what I'm doing. You don't have to repeat what I'm doing. I'm just giving some examples, and maybe this will help put your feet on the path. But I started to just make myself very comfortable and lay prostrate before God. And the universe and creation. But my key focal point or energy was or goal was to be completely relaxed, to try to release all stress, to try to release all anxiety, to release worry, concern, uh, even to, let myself just come as much as I could weightless, almost like floating in outer space. Let me release anything that's got me gravity and earthbound, and let me just press into a place of relaxation. So, and I literally would start, and I think I've shared this another time, with tensing my muscles, and then from the top of my head all the way down to my feet, I would just gradually release that tension and try to become as relaxed as I possibly could, while also taking extremely deep breathing motions and movements to try to expel, inhale as deeply as I could, because a lot of times our lives are moving so fast, we don't even think about, am I taking in enough oxygen? But to really oxygenate every fiber of my being and then expel all of the carbon dioxide out of my lungs that I could possibly expel. And then just doing that, and at the same time trying to relax. If I noticed, if I even thought, if I feel my leg, my thing is, okay, I need to relax my leg, because I want to get to a state of weightlessness that I really don't even know my leg is there. And I just want to be one with God. I want to be in a state and a place where it's just me and God, and all of the weights, yes, the drag. I want to release all of that. And I want to increase my lift. I want to increase my thrust so I can come into a presence with God that transcends. And so from there, once I got into that place, my thought or mantra was, truth, reveal yourself to me. Truth. Because I'm mindful of the word that says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Okay. But I feel like the way will be manifested if I'm in truth. The life slash light, because to me they're one and the same. The light slash life will come forth if I'm operating in truth. So for me, it was a matter of starting with that place of truth and allowing the spirit of truth to speak to me. And one of the things I first remember hearing truth say to me, God say to me in truth is here. Open your eyes and see it. And I mean, in this instance, I'm going to talk about spiritual eyes, which could include your natural eyes. But I mean, for me, and if that's taking in beauty or whatever the case may be, but for me, it was really more so of a spiritual level, that it was like, open your eyes and truth, I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. Open your eyes to me so you can see it. Open your ears. Open all of your senses, your smell. And I'm going to say this, and some of you may have a correlation to this or not, but I can remember one time while I was in that state, and there was a fragrance that I started smelling, that it wasn't anything in my natural environment. It wasn't like I was by some flowers or anything like that. It wasn't like incense or some kind of oil was burning. I mean, I was in just a regular space outside. I was outside. But it was like all of a sudden there was a real pungent and strong sweet smell that came into my presence. I don't know if any of you have ever experienced that. If you have, share with me in the chat. But I'm telling you, and it was so overwhelming. I was like, oh my goodness. And I know we talk about the fragrance of God, and we use a lot of lingo, if you will. Use a lot of things that are cliche, but I literally smelled. I'm telling you. And it was almost like powerful enough to put you into like a trance like state. I mean, it was just that aroma was so, and no, it wasn't weed. It wasn't 420 elders in the room. It wasn't any of that. It was just a natural, supernatural. I think I probably need to say it was a supernatural fragrance that just permeated the space that I was in as I was there. And from there, it was almost like the Spirit took me into another worldly experience. So that's where I started. And from there, the journey has been powerful. Now, in conjunction with that came elements of therapy and counseling that I'd had, and incorporating some of those dynamics into how I could come into a greater place spiritually with God by knowing myself and understanding myself better. Okay? Knowing God greater by experiencing and understanding myself in a greater way. Okay? And so that's a lot of where some of this really, really turned the corner and began for me outside of the realm and the makings of what we've traditionally been taught about, quote unquote, church. So, and I'm not knocking church or any of that, but I am saying that my clarity in my spiritual awareness was heightened and opened up outside of the confines of what I had traditionally been taught as far as approaching God for church. Matter of fact, I'll say this. One of the reasons why I opted to be prostrate and find some place and just lay out, especially if I could hear water, if I could feel the sun on my skin, whatever. I would look for different nuances wherever I laid out and however I chose. I didn't choose as Catholics say, genuflecting. I didn't choose the getting on my knees. I know a lot of you have been taught to get down on your knees and pray. Because I'm going to tell you, number one, your muscles are not relaxed if you're kneeling. Number two, your knees are going to start hurting if you're kneeling. Now, let's just tell the truth and shame the devil. After a while, after you stay down there long enough, unless your legs, your knees, and everything just absolutely goes numb and goes to sleep, which is not a good scenario, after a while, your knees going to start hurting. And your mind is going to be deflected from your spiritual. Now, let me just, can I say that's for me? Maybe your breakthrough is down on your knees, and that's the only way you can get that breakthrough. Baby, get the breakthrough wherever you can. Let me just talk for myself. After a while, my knees start hurting. The same thing with, even the churchy posture of lifting your arms. After a while, your arms start feeling like they weigh 500 tons each. So all of these different things that we've been taught, I'm not knocking that. If that's still the only way that you feel comfortable, my thing was to relax myself, relax my mind, relax my body. Okay, so enough said about that, but I'm just trying to share how I moved into this realm and then started while I was in that state, in that place. Let's incorporate and let's think about whatever the Spirit brings to mind. But a lot of what the Spirit would bring to mind reflected back to my counseling, reflected back to my therapy. And I just let it flow. I just let it flow. I didn't try to block it. I didn't try to reserve. No, this is reserved for me thinking about scripture. This is reserved for me thinking about God and this and that and the third. Come on, Cassandra. That is where that verse, Psalms 46:10, became my favorite verse. Be still and know that I am God. And being still is to learn, and it's very, very important. And when I tell you that passage is precious to me, because I'm going to say, even for a lot of times, even in our posture of the way we've been taught prayer, you talk too much. You can't hear what the Spirit is saying because you're too busy bumping your gums. Sometimes you just need to be still. And some of us need to learn the discipline of quietness. The discipline of quietness. Some are accustomed to having noise in your environment all the time that never stops. Just noise, 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 noise. I was talking to someone the other day and they were sharing how, since, again, we're talking about imprint, since childhood, her mother always had to have the television playing morning, noon, night. It was just noise. And she's a child of the 70s, so that was after, our TVs went off at midnight. And I don't care what channel you were looking at, it was going off at midnight. But as the younger generation came and it became a 24-hour scenario, it was easy for parents to just leave that TV on 24/7. And that imprint is still on her. She just, it has to be on for noise, because that noise is a part of her lived experience, and she just does not disconnect from that. But there is a blessed quietness, just quieting your mind, everything in your environment, and just be still and know God. Be still and know God. So this then brought me to the reality, as I said, and I think I shared very openly, and I hope I wasn't too vehement in the way I was expressing it, but I got to a point where I was really, to use the same word I used the other night, I was pissed, because I'm like, I am in a pressed place and I don't have a resource. I don't have, as far as friends, loved ones, and family, let me put it that way. I know we can say, but you have this person and that person. Let me talk about attachment. You can't take a real deep place in your life that you need to talk about and address where the relationship has not been cultivated and developed to that level. You understand what I'm saying? There's a level, and depending on how deep that thing goes, how long that thing has been a part of your world, and so on and so forth. You can do it with therapists because they've been trained how to draw the information out and then how to deal with it, how to ask you the questions, how to ask probing questions, how to not react. Because, some of it, sometimes, can I say this? And I'm going to share, because there have been times when, maybe I've approached and tried to approach a subject with someone, but their immediate responses are a shutdown. It is, if anybody knows what I'm talking about, respond to me here. The responses of the individuals that you're trying to feel them out and see, can I go here? It immediately sends up a signal that says, nope, shut it down. Because the responses are just not the appropriate response. So, and there is a skill to listening. Please believe that. There is a skill, and I'm going to even say an anointing to listening. And some people are not good listeners. Some don't know how to listen. And also in that regard, every scenario that you're sharing doesn't always need a response. Sometimes you just need to get it out. Am I talking to anybody? Sometimes you just need to get it out there. And before you can get it out there, somebody's jumping in and giving you their 2 cents and their input and their, and that's a shutdown. So come on, truck driver. So, and these are things that I'm going to encourage us. Come on, Diane. So these are things that I'm going to encourage us, learn how, open yourself up to be a conduit for a good listener, for an anointed listener, for someone that can discern and identify when to speak and when to be quiet, what to speak. And, and then can I just come here, because I did have an experience where I chose to trust somebody that appeared to be trustworthy and appeared to be caring. And ultimately, what I found out was that this person was really just prying, trying to find information. And the real talk here, real talk. Jealousy and almost loathing and hatred can come at you in the form of love. I'm going to say that again. Jealousy and hatred and loathing can sometimes come at you in the wolves clothing, wolves in sheep's clothing, like they love you, and it's really not. And as you get into that scenario, you begin to realize this person is really jealous of me. This person, it really, come on, Diane, and I mean, just come across like, oh my God, I love you. And again, all of that is a means of a setup. And come on, J Trey, I'm talking some real talk in there. Crystal Method, come on in here. So much love to you. Come on in and let's chop it up. J Trey, I'm telling it. It's like you take them at face value and you start to open up and to share. And the next thing you know, baby, they got a dagger stabbing you in the back. They got something to bludgeon you in the head. And it's like, oh my God, monitor spirits. Come on here, Crystal Method. You better talk to me. So, you have to really be sensitive to that as well. But this is, I'm going to say, still that place where I'm encouraging us, look inward, don't look outward. Stop looking at the person and begin to, again, identify within yourself. Why and how did I allow myself to make this attachment? And especially, same candy bar, different wrapper. If you've had this thing in different forms off and on during your whole entire life, you need to look at that. You really need to process why these types of attachments keep coming and presenting themselves to you. Okay, so that's all I'm going to say about that, because I really want to get into the attachments and that element and essence of the real meat of what we want to talk about. Then you think you have someone you can talk to, and then you hear them talking to others about what you told them, Truck, and you ain't even lied. You listen, where's the lie? Absolutely, positively. And some of it, Truck, is like, can I say this? It's like they wanted to strip you naked and expose you in front of the people. You understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? They really wanted the information that they harvested from you was for the purpose of stripping you naked and then exposing you in front of people and leave you standing there like, my hind parts are hanging out. I don't believe you just did that. And that was the goal from the beginning. But then it'll be presented as in a real innocent, like, I didn't, that's not what I meant. Yes, it was. And especially after it happens 2 or 3 or 4, 5 times, quit lying. Stop telling me that's not what you meant to do. That's it. Come on, Crystal Method. That's definitely and exactly what you meant to do. And the harvesting of the information is so that you could, anything you say can and will be used against you when you deal with that kind of spirit. I promise you, anything you say can and will be used against you when you're dealing with that kind of spirit. So the question then for me is, how can we identify, why am I making attachments with those individuals and those personality types, and what's going on inside of me that's what I keep attaching to, or that's what I keep allowing to attach to me. So one of the things, and we talk about attachment, and I didn't pull, the fruit is rotten, Diane. The fruit is past rotten, but it's trying to present itself. You know how at the grocery store, like apples and the fruit can actually be starting to go bad, or maybe not as fresh, and they'll start putting wax on it to make it look shiny and make it look, whatever they have to do to put some food coloring in there. The meat, if you ever go to the meat section, yes, baby, you better believe they inject that stuff with all kind of dye and everything else to make that meat look fresh and to make it attractive so you'll buy it, when the reality is the meat's been sitting there for a minute, and if you could really see it for the color that it really is, it's just as gray can be, but they've injected it with so much stuff until when they just can't put any more in it and then reduce for quick sale. Yeah, you got to have a quick sale on it now because it's already bad. It's already at a point where it's ready to turn and go bad. So it's definitely, the fruit is rotten. Now, I don't know if I'm going to find what I wanted. I have it saved somewhere, but I'm not in that particular, I don't have it pulled up. I'm in another screen. I want to talk about attachment and attachment styles. I do have, we're going to talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And I also have another video that I want to show you about, I think I'll start with Maslow's hierarchy. I think I'll start there. So there is a theory, let me load this up, that Maslow came up with in the 40s. And he put this together, and you know how we do. We latched on to it and as if it was the gospel. And yet and still, it has its positives, but at the same time, there were experiments, and I talked about that the other day, and I'll go back and revisit that again. Experiments that were done that begin to identify that this order is not necessarily accurate. So his idea was that your physiological needs are the first, the primary, which you see at the base, which is food, water, and air. Then safety, which is freedom from pain, security, and stability. Belongingness and love, he has bringing up right in the middle. The need to give and receive love and affection, to belong and to have some roots. Then esteem, the desire for achievement, strength, and confidence. Adequacy, that feeling of being adequate, that you are enough. To be able to cope by oneself. And then lastly, he has at the point self-actualization, to make actual what you are potentially, personal growth and development by following one's own passions and interests. So when you talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, that's where you go, and that psychology really latched on to that. And that is a model that is still very heavily relied upon in psychology and psychoanalysis. Now, what we begin to find out, however, when we started talking about the theory of attachment, which a man by the name of John Bowlby actually came up with that. And I want to say that was in the 40s. And Bowlby came out with a different idea that basically, where we saw the physiological as the foundation, he challenged that based on experiments that he did. Now, let me share some of his background, because I think that's critical to understanding why he went here. He got sent away to boarding school when he was 6 years old. And he said it was the worst experience of his life. And he became very, very interested in attachment because he felt like he had none to his family. Now, many of us would think, oh boy, if he could go to boarding school, that meant his family was well-to-do and affluent, and do not confuse materialism, money, and wealth with attachment, love, or anything else. And some of us need to hear that. I know we can say, oh yeah, I agree when we talk about boarding school, but some of us have made our attachments. Now, come on, let's keep it real. Some of us have made our personal attachments to people based on material things. Oh, they bought this, they gave me that. I mean, you're flooded with all of this materialism. You're flooded with things, but things are not a replacement for true love. And I'm not just talking about in a partnership relationship. I'm talking about all the way across the board, whether it's parents to children, whether it is a intimate other relationship. KB Browns, come on in here, my brother. So much love to you, and thank you for coming in for the Wednesday chat. Let's talk. And how many times do I see people confuse real relationship with materialism? Real relationship with what can you buy me, or what did you buy me? Oh girl, he got me a 5 carat ring, a 5 carat diamond ring. And I got a Jag in the, I'm gonna tell you what, I know someone that was married to an NFL football star who will remain nameless. But when I tell you all of the everything you can think of in materialism was completely at her disposal, but he beat her for breakfast, lunch, and dinner until eventually, I went several times with other family members to rescue her from that situation. And it was the go back to, and I mean, this joker beat her so bad that the cups in her bra were ripped out. How you beat somebody and rip out the cups of the bra? But at the end of the day, from the outside looking in, everybody just, oh, what a fabulous lifestyle. All of the stars, and when I say a star, he was and was chosen several times for when they pull out the creme de la creme and they play the games and whatever, he was one of those. But at the end of the day, that joker was crazy. And we get into this materialistic, and even, listen, I'm going to tell you, and this is true talk, even in the instance where my friend was beat out of her bra cups. Do you hear me? I'm not trying to exaggerate the story. Literally, she was beaten out of her bra cups. How you do that, I just still can't figure out. And when the police showed up, they started chumming it up with him because of who he was. Like she wasn't even there. And I think there was maybe one time the individual was arrested. Other than that, and even that time, they came and got him out. That was a quick, fast, and in a hurry scenario. And was treated as if he was the king. Oh yeah, Stacy. It was crazy. It was crazy. When I tell you, when the Popo got there, Stacy, and for anybody that doesn't know, Stacy 546 is a retired police officer. When I tell you the Popo got there, which was in a very exclusive area of town, a very exclusive scenario, space, place, everything about it. The 5-car garage had a car in it, and all of them were, and that's why, I'm not that crazy about all that kind of stuff now. People, oh, I rode in this, baby, I rode in all of that, but the joker was crazy. I don't care. You can give me this, that, and a third. That's not love. And yeah, Stacy 546, when the police got there, they were so starstruck that they just immediately started chatting it up with this man. And I'm over here with my friend who's literally bleeding. Bleeding and bruised. And I still, the bra cups ripped out is what just took me over the edge. And it's absolutely ridiculous. And they, at the end of the day, very little was done. But until she came to her senses and eventually was able to get out of that, which was very difficult, because then at that point, when she's ready to go, we're getting more and more violent, more and more, and then we have to take into the account that the financial situation became an issue because I've become dependent on your income because I wasn't allowed to work. I wasn't allowed to do anything but be completely and totally dependent and reliant upon you. Now you're using the money as leverage. Anybody know what I'm talking about? I'm talking real talk in here. But at the end of the day, you get into this place in our society where people look at that from the outside looking in and they're like, man, they have everything. No, they don't. No, they don't. No, they don't. It will not replace real love. So basically, what Bowlby came out and said, where you're talking about, I need the physiological, and I'm gonna go back and show this again. Tanish, come on in here. Thank you for following. It's so good to have you, and thank you for the follow. I appreciate you for coming in. So much love coming to you, and welcome to the Chop House. We got the lines in here, and we just chop it up, and we talk real talk here. So thank you, and welcome, and feel free to have conversation in this chat. Nothing beats peace of mind, KB Browns. Absolutely, positively, nothing beats peace of mind. So this is where Bowlby started with his experiment. So he started with rhesus monkeys, and then he took it to human babies. And you can say whatever you want to say as far as using animals and so on and so forth, but you find these patterns in nature, period. So what he did, now we have this, look at the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Physiological, food, water, and air are definitely what you need first and foremost as your primary foundation. What he found with the rhesus monkeys, he made an image of a mother out of something that was steel and cold, and put food and water in association with that figure. Then he had another figure that was made out of cloth and very soft material and whatnot that had nothing. Some of you may remember me kind of alluding to this on the other night, but I want to kind of break it down what I was referring to. So what he found was that the rhesus monkeys would go and get the water and the food from the metal, the steel made proxy of a mother, and then go back to the soft. And as far as the majority of the time and the interaction, there was almost zero contact with the steel hard mom. It always went back to outside of going to get the food and the water, always went back to the soft cloth, and that seemed to be comforting. That didn't have anything other than offering the comfort. So then he took that same experiment and went to human babies and had the same concept with a steel construct, a hard construct of a mother, and then another that was just fabric and soft materials. And the same held true with the babies. They would only go to the hard steel representation of the mother when it needed to get those resources, to only immediately go back to the soft that had nothing. And what was manifesting was that at the end of the day, and there's more to it, but that was the very, what I want to say, the foundational premise, and then developed from there. And what was found, I don't care, even though you can say the physiological is the absolute basic foundation to it, what Bowlby came out and found was that no, it's not the foundation to it. Love is the foundation that has to be at the very beginning. And that love, or denial or withholding of love, actually creates almost the entire foundation of how that child is going to develop and mature in life. Because it is our tendency as creatures, not just human beings, but this, again, he started with rhesus monkeys. He used other various animals, did the same thing, same outcome. Why? And this is where, I hope we'll begin to understand that at the end of the day, God created us all, and all of humanity, as well as animal kingdom, as well as God created all of this to be one. and to operate in oneness. So if we understand that the tendency as God created us is to migrate towards love, doesn't that make sense? Because God is love. God is love. So it would make sense that that is what creation longs for and reaches out to, is love. So this is where we find the beginnings of this whole let's challenge Maslow's hierarchy and what do we really need. And at the end of the day, what did we used to sing back in the day? Some of you are too young to remember this song, but we sang, what the world needs now is love, sweet love. It's the only thing that there's just too little of. And that foundation really drives everything in our world. Now, so from that, we develop attachments based on, I'm looking for, I need to go back to, I want to pull out, I did do some slides. Come on, Stacy 546. I'm talking up in here. I want us to understand that attachment that we need in love is so critical, and we cannot overstate that. We cannot overstate that. We gotta have the love, folks. We just gotta have the love. I'm looking for, let me go to my drive. I want to show some slides that kind of bring us into, I'm gonna start with, I'm clicking through some things here. And feel free, then they made it a Coke commercial. Well, wasn't Coke the real thing? It's the real thing. Coke is. Well, the real thing is we all need love as a foundational premise, even above and beyond physiological needs that we want to focus and concentrate on. And that's why parents or whomever, do not sideswipe your child with, you know I love you because I provided for you. No, that doesn't mean, listen, what did I say? All of those different test subjects, from the rhesus monkeys to the human babies, all of them, when the rubber met the road, they went and got their needs met as far as what the hard metal representation, cold steel, they went and got their needs met and went right back to the soft, because that's not what they wanted to interact with. That's not where the attachment was. Don't tell your child, you know I loved you because I love you because I provided you. That's what you're supposed to do. I remember one time, now, you know, I'm going to make somebody mad, but you're the parent. That's what you're supposed to do. You did nothing more than what you were supposed to do. Don't try to hold that against me, and don't try to use that. And I understand the concept. Coke was really the real thing back in the day. And they had real Coke in it to start with, Truck. Let's go there. For anybody that knows the history of Coke, it had Coke in it at one time. But I'm saying, at the end of the, come on, KB Browns, that part. But at the end of the day, that's not love, and it can actually be alienating. It can actually be alienating, because at the end of the day, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I need love. I need touch. I need human contact. I need interaction. How many of us have, even at a certain age, almost like taking on this idea, like kids don't steal, even if they're 45 years old, they don't need human contact. Yes, they do. And I'm not just talking about, well, they're married now, they got a wife, and then a wife or a husband is still not your human contact with your child. Am I talking to anybody in here? Them having children is not human contact with you. We don't ever supersede the age where we long and need and want human contact. Come on, truck driver, give that to the loved ones in your life. We talked about that when we were talking about the vagus nerve on the other day and how we can reset it by looking people dead in their eye, by human contact, by deliberate, on purpose, human contact. And as well as several other things. You can go back and look at that video from that day if you want to. I'm not going to try to hash all that out. But I do want to emphasize the human contact because it's huge. It's huge. Communication and conversation is huge. Don't cut people off with this answer that they can't respond to. Well, I gave you got food, water, shelter, and clothes, don't you? Well, that doesn't tell me anything. That doesn't tell me one thing other than that you parented me, which is exactly what you were supposed to do. But when it comes to having a relationship, and can I pose it this way? That becomes the cold, steel, hard representation of the parent or the loved one. And it's like they're going to go for the soft. They're going to come get what they need to get. Me and my two boys love on each other all the time. And truck driver, especially for men. Men need to love on each other. And I think I want to just absolutely applaud you, as I always do, that you are secure enough as a male and you can express and love on your two sons without feeling like there's, they're grown men. They don't need that. They need your love. As long as they got a father in this world, truck driver, they need your love and they need that love expressed. Stacy 546, you're not getting credit for something you were supposed to do. Come on, Stacy. That's what I'm screaming. And how many times do we throw that at our kids? Like, what do you want, a cookie? That's what you were supposed to do. We're talking about developing relationship and attachment. And can I say this? More times than not, if that's your response, you're probably already cold. That relationship's probably already been cold. And whoever, whether it's a significant other, whether it's a friend, a loved one, a child, they've probably already turned to something or someone else for that softness. Because if that's the only response you can come out with, we're gonna come get whatever physiological needs we need, or whatever it is that you meet that need, and we're gonna go someplace else and find that soft. Now I want to show this video right here, and I'm not gonna talk. I'm just gonna let it play. I think it's very, very powerful because I want you to take notice of this. I love this particular video. I'm just going to let it play, and I'm not going to talk. I think this is a very, very good explanation, and it's very spiritual. Here we go.
Here's how we use David Hawkins' scale of consciousness to stop spiritual bypassing. Whenever we look at things through a hierarchy, there ends up being an aspect of bypassing that happens through that hierarchy because one thing is always better than another. When we look at the scale of consciousness right here, we can see that there's a hierarchy that goes up this, and there's numbers that separate individuals from the wholeness that they are. If we were to say that the top of this funnel was pure consciousness and full enlightenment, it means that everything else below it has separation. Now, this is not an actual fact. Everything inside of this has love, all the way up from enlightenment down to shame. When we think about shame, shame is love's cry for acceptance. When we think about guilt, guilt is love's cry for forgiveness. Grief and apathy, these are love's cry for remembrance. Fear, this is love's cry for safety. Desire is even love's cry for pleasure. So we can go.
I want to stop right there, and I want you to take note of that. This is and I do follow this individual. This is a person. Can I get credit for breathing since folks want credit for doing what they're supposed to do? Come on, KB. Can I get credit for that? You better talk to me. Daylin, come on in here. It's good to see you, sis. Nothing but mad love to you. Applauding mediocrity is what Americans do. This. Listen, that's what we do. If you can get credit for sleeping because it's good for your body, it doesn't build relationship. It doesn't build relationship. So, and that shoe may be on somebody's foot today, but I really want you to give it serious consideration, because that's not how you develop loving relationship. That's a cold response. That's a cold answer. So, I just want you to think about that. I want you to think about that in sincerity. Now, I stopped this right here because I want you to be able to, you need credit for existing, J. Trey. Come on. Now, what we do have to acknowledge, sometimes individuals did not have this to offer. Some of our parents did not have the wherewithal, and we're going to talk about that a little bit as well. Let me look at my time, because I don't, I don't. Okay, it's 8:10, so I got 50 minutes left. I want us to identify that some of our parents and and it may not have been a biological parent. We also have to deal with. For people that are adopted, for people that ended up in the care of the state, for people that lost parents, death at early stages in life, early ages in life, it begins to take on a whole different dynamic. But the reality is, it's still impacting you one way or another. It is still impacting you one way or another. And we have to kind of step back and say, how am I unpacking this for how it affects my current attachments? Are they healthy attachments? Are they unhealthy attachments? What am I creating? What do I have? What am I working with? Show me what you're working with. Now, this brother brings out the idea, and when you hear him talking about, we're still basically talking about Maslow's hierarchy, but he just laid out a different way. And he flipped the script. And basically, because as he said, you need that love from the very beginning, and you need the different elements of it. So instead of making it a negative, again, he's emphasizing that we can go up and down this hierarchy, and at every level, we need to see it as love trying to express itself in some way. So that's why I wanted to stop here. If you've dealt with a lot of shame, understand that it's love crying for acceptance. Or if you encounter someone, because sometimes this will help you to understand people and maybe deal with them a little differently. I'm going to say, for me, fear. I was a very, very fearful child. And when I say I was scared of the dark, you name it, I was scared of it. Now, I was a bully. I came off as being rough, tough, all this and oh man, which was a lot of bluster and bluff. But at the end of the day, if you ever could get inside my body, I was one big walking fearful child. I was afraid of everything. So, and all of that put on was my protection for myself to not show really how fearful I was. Now, when you look at that, fear is love's cry for safety. And so what does that say to me, and how can I be kind and gentle to myself about how, and that fear still, it's imprinted on me. It's an imprint. I said, maybe I'm gonna get to it tonight. I hope to, but it's an imprint in my life. And it was imprinted from childhood. And there were a lot of different things that brought me to a state of being a fearful person. As I said, I had the play tag someone and say you're it. How many hugs do you want? Touch is healing. Come on here, Cassandra, you better talk to me. Some will not know how to receive your touch, or that you're even making an offer. That's a good word. Come on. I appreciate that, Cassandra. I love it. I love it. I love it. And thank you for sharing. Keep talking to me. Now, let me tell you again, how did I get to be so fearful? I shared with you my story about my mother, who always told me the story about her mother dying 3 days after her 12th birthday. I had a fear my mother was going to die. And then it didn't help because my lived experience was that she was sick. Y'all remember back in the day, little kids couldn't go in hospital rooms. You couldn't go up in the towers, what we called the towers or the rooms, until you were 12 years old and up to be able to go into the hospital area where the patients were. I had to stay down in the waiting room. My mother at one time was in the hospital for 2 months. 1 month of that, I didn't get to see her at all. I was down in the tower. I was down in the waiting room because I wasn't old enough to go up in the tower. Can you imagine? I'm going to read what Stacy 546 is saying. My dad used to tell me, and I'm not being funny, Stace, they don't rent apartments to hunt to 10-year-olds. I wasn't afraid of anything. I was ready to go. You were ready to pack your bags and get out of Dodge. I feel you, Stacy. And you keep bringing that to me, and I will. I hear you. So, but back to this essence of, I didn't get to see my mom for like 2 months. She was deathly ill. They didn't know she was going to live. For 1 month. And then I remember, because my mother was a heavy set woman, when I did get to see her, she had lost so much weight. I remember looking at her. I was like, who is that? You know, her face, I could tell that was my mom, but it was like, who is that? She had lost so much weight while she was in the hospital. But if you can imagine, while my sisters were able to go up in the towers because they were older, part of the time they were down, and I was never left alone, but it was just like, and those nuns were some of the meanest women I ever met. I mean, it was just like, oh my God. But nonetheless, it was that fear. I was afraid of the nuns. They were mean. I was afraid of, I was afraid my mom wasn't going to live. I mean, I'm telling you, then, y'all not ready for me. Church and teaching and teaching and teaching, hell and fire and damnation, and you're going to hell and da 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 da, hell and fire and fear. And so, we sang songs, and this is not a made-up song. These are literally the lyrics to this song. What you gonna do when death come creeping in the room? Oh my Lord, what shall I do? There's no comfort in that, and especially to a little kid that doesn't understand. So, and I understood death and dying, but at the end of the day, you can only process at the level of a little kid. So I'm sitting here and I'm hearing all these death and dying and drudgery sound like, oh my God, something from a horror movie. And you want me to go to sleep tonight. I can't sleep because I'm looking for death to come creeping in the room. Oh my Lord, what shall I do is absolutely correct. So fear of a very strict disciplinary type environment where everything was black and white, everything was right or wrong. There was no gray area. There was no, it's either or, it's, this or that. Fear of not being good enough, fear. And with that, you start creating all these byproducts of fear, low self-esteem. Then add to the fact that I was very dark complected when dark complexions were not in. So I had to deal with Little Black Sambo, Tar Baby, all of that. So all of these things are big fear that people are not going to like me because of whatever. And some people didn't like me just because I was too black. Some of the kids in school didn't like me because I was too black. I'm telling you, you just have all of this, but what it was love's cry for safety. Now, I interject that way because inwardly, some of us beat up on ourselves and some of us are our own worst critics. So inwardly, I despised myself for being so fearful. I really did. So if I'm despising myself for being fearful, this whole concept of understanding that all of these different elements and all of these different levels in the hierarchy, it's really love trying to express itself. And once I was able to go back and say, okay, my fear-based living was love's cry for safety. Do you see how different that is? And do you see how that allows you to have some sense of being able to deal with that without being so harsh on yourselves? Because once you bring love in the mix, it allows you to experience it from a different vantage point. I'm going to say that again. Once you bring love in the mix, it allows you to deal with it from a different vantage point. I'm gonna bring myself in the picture for just a minute here, because I want to stay on this topic a little while longer, because you may see yourself somewhere here. So again, there's nothing wrong with desire. Desire is love's cry for pleasure. Now, if desire is driving you and it's out of control, then you need to bring that back into a perspective, but do it from a place of loving, not a place of beating yourself down. Understand, grief and apathy, that's a love's cry for remembrance. And even as I said to you, when I started this particular phase of the journey, it was directly a result of so many heavy, close, unsuspecting, unpredictable griefs that had occurred back to back to back to back to back to back to back in my world. And so I was able to embrace that grief that I'm experiencing is really love's cry for remembrance. These individuals, and out of that, my takeaway, my tears are nothing more that love that I have for those loved ones that I did not get to express pouring out of my eyes. That's all it is. Unexpressed love, pent up love, love that I had that's just overflowing out of my eyes. But again, it's love's remembrance, love's cry for remembrance for those loved ones. And can I say this? Some places, if not all, you need to be fully present and just sit with it. Okay? Some of these places, if not all, my understanding of my fearful life, fear of everything, fear of rejection, fear of abandonment, fear, and even if that abandonment is by death or whatever, fear. That's my love's cry for some safety. I need safety. I need security. I need stability. And obviously, something in my world is not giving me that. But I understand that love in me is crying out for that. And that's what my fear is love's cry for safety. And to be able to know that, let me tell you what power that gives you when I am interacting now and I express to whomever I'm talking to, when I'm trying to express to them what my needs are in a loving way and in a loving partnership, and I'm not just talking about intimately, but I'm talking about partnership, two people in partnership in this relationship, I can identify I have a strong love factor that needs to have safety. My fear is an expression of my love that's crying out saying, I need safety. I'm clear on that. I'm clear. If you're bringing me something that is unsafe, if you're bringing me something that's unstable, if you're bringing me something that I can't hang my hat on, and I don't know if it's going to change every time the wind blows a different direction, every time this happens and that happens. And sometimes you may have to be long suffering with me because my lived experience has taught me not to trust that I'm safe. Am I talking to anybody in here? And listen, you may fall anywhere in here. I'm using fear because fear and again, grief is what started me on my journey. If I understand and I can articulate that to someone so that they can hopefully, prayerfully understand what I'm saying my needs are, then hopefully we're going to have an outcome that can serve me where I am. First and foremost, I need to embrace it for myself. Guilt is my cry for forgiveness. Love's cry for forgiveness. That's what, if shame, that's love's cry for acceptance. If you see yourself anywhere on there, until you can get to complete consciousness and enlightenment, where you can have the peace, joy, love, reason, acceptance. Oh, that's beautiful. We like to immediately jump to those good places. But on these other levels of the hierarchy, where we tend to be more rigid with ourselves, less forgiving, less understanding, and sometimes we don't even understand how we got there ourselves. So that's why I kind of wanted to stop here and say, okay, let's look at what he just said and let's understand it from love's cry for whatever. And then start dealing with yourself from that space right there. Man, and I'm telling you, and this is spiritual, when you sit with that, I'm talking about really getting to the core of you, the core of what has brought you to the place you are. Man, it gets really, really powerful. Okay, I'm gonna finish letting that out, but I definitely just wanted to stop. If you might need to take some notes on that, but I'm moving on. But I wanted to give you that opportunity.
Go up and down this entire hierarchy to understand that when we start to infuse love in any one of these things, and we understand this is just love crying out in individual stages, what we then do as humanity is we start wrapping our arms around individuals when we see them in these states. We infuse them with love, we wrap our arms around them, and then we help the polarization of opposites come together. This is how we use the scale of consciousness to avoid spiritual bypassing. We use our hearts, we use our love to then help elevate them, and then through that, everybody starts to move as an aspect of oneness in this Messianic consciousness. Thank you, and I love you.
I love that. I absolutely love that. And that's something that I do. I review that and I look at it from time to time frequently, because sometimes when you first start this spiritual journey, you may have to remind yourself of a thing more than once. You may, especially if it's an area that you struggle with, you may have to remind yourself more than once, because if we're not careful, it's not uncommon to immediately revert back to places that we're accustomed to going. So I want to come here and I'm gonna go through some of these slides, and we'll come back and deal with them more in depth if I need to later on. But I know that I've kind of spent some time here. Attachment theory posits that infants need to form a close relationship with at least one primary caregiver to ensure their survival. And I'm going to keep going very quickly here, and then we can come back and touch on some things. Good attachments allow us to think and explore freely. This provides a psychological resource to draw on if you really are in a good attachment. Good attachments allow us, poor attachments, on the other hand, leave us subject to the fear system, disorganized and not able to explore new ways of coping with difficult emotions and events. Now, again, fear system is what you will produce if for your attachments, if you are not moving and operating in a healthy, a good attachment way. Attachments can be negative, perverse, and dysfunctional, as well as nurturing and caring. All right. The quality and style of the care the child receives will determine their understanding of what love and care should be. So again, what did I say earlier? When they use the still, hard, cold manifestation or presentation of whatever nurture, whatever the factor was that was doing the attachment, it's not the go-to. Just be clear on that. So when you get that, you get the negative and the perverse. Okay, and you've got down even to child molestation. There are perverted people out here that are meddling and fondling with little kids. And some, can I say this? Because you never assume someone may be in this chat under the sound of my voice that you are I'm going to call you a victor and not a victim. You may be a victor of having lived that experience. That's a whole scenario, and I want to acknowledge that. I do not want to bring it across in any way negatively, because I know individuals that were being fondled and molested as babies. And so I want to acknowledge your power, your strength as a victor, yet and still that there's an imprint, and we'll talk about that. The quality and style of the care the child receives will determine their understanding of what love and care should be. Deficiencies in care will often be understood by the child as the fault of the child, meaning that that deficiency that the child has experienced gives that child a sense of, what did I do wrong? What's wrong with me? Why can't I? Why does this happen to me? Why does it always, that we begin immediately. It's almost like even to the point of people, small children whose parents have gone through bad relationships, abusive relationships, battering and or divorce, and you have the child listening in the other room, or maybe even trying to defend whoever it is that's being beaten up and abused, and the child will internalize, if I was a better child, this wouldn't happen. This is happening because of me. Because that's automatically what kids will tend to do. They begin to understand that deficiency as something that's the fault of the child. And some of us are still reeling and rocking from carrying that kind of energy. So secure babies or adults are able to recover more quickly and cope better with psychological stress. Insecure babies can learn to become secure adults. And I think that's the hope that goes along with, as we share, there is always the hope that you can learn to become secure adults, but you do have to really go through the process of development, self-development. I'm gonna come back and see what you're saying, Stacy. I never came out to my parents because I heard my dad say one time he thought they should all be hung from the nearest tree. I wasn't ashamed of being gay, but I was afraid they may not love me anymore. And I knew my mom usually went along with whatever my dad said, and I wasn't willing to find out she was going to take that stance on this issue. Very, very valid point, Stacy. Very valid point. And so that element has an imprint, and again, we're going to get to imprint. That element has an imprint that, if truth be told, and again, this is by introspection, it's not by me telling you, because you know your lived experience. If you go back and look at your lived experience, there are things about that shaped the way your attachments were made with people based on that. And at the end of the day, that whole element of they should be hung from the nearest tree, and to have that sense of, if I tell, and if my dad rejected me, and then my mom, who tends to take my dad's stance and side, rejected me as well, huge. And that's real talk. That's real talk. Thank you for being transparent and sharing that. And it's those types of things that become weight and drag on our spirituality, on our journey, on our being able to be whole, and feel that. And when I say whole, I'm not saying that you're not. What I'm saying is that wholeness of being able to be who you are freely without any attachment issues that come out to attack, to bring deficiencies or anything like that. I appreciate you for being willing to transparently share that, and you're not the only one. Please believe that all of us have an area that we had and have had some level of that experience, especially as it comes and relates to, well, I won't say everybody, because no, there's no all and none, but many of us can relate to fear rejection, especially by the caregivers. The caregiver, that's where we look for our security and our safety. But as was said, even insecure, if you find yourself in a place where this has made you insecure, you can still learn to become secure as an adult. The child's learning is based on how they are handled and how the caregiver acts towards them, not on what the caregiver says. Now that's huge. Let me go ahead and I'm gonna put myself back pick and pick if let's go that route, because I do want to talk through this. I don't want to hold you up. I want to keep moving through the slides. The child's learning is based on how they are handled. And listen, y'all, we have to understand, I don't care what you say with your mouth. And this is where I'm going to say a lot of people that would say to me, but Regina, we are like this. No, your words, your words are one thing, but how I'm handled is another thing. Am I talking to anybody? And while I know your words may be what you really mean, how I'm handled is this. And my learned and lived experience with you and my attachment or detachment with you is based on how I'm handled, not what you're saying with your lips. And we've got to understand, and if the truth be told, can I talk to us real talk? If truth be told, many of us would say, oh, my family's close. Your family is not close. You don't know Jim Bob. Jim Bob doesn't know Sue. Sue doesn't know Jane. Nobody knows anybody. We congregate together in the same spaces. We have shared experiences of certain things that happen together in a family unit. But if you were to really get down to the brass tacks of it, sister doesn't know brother, brother doesn't know brother, mama doesn't know children, children don't, and they think they know one another, Stacy. That's the sad part about it. But it's so superficial. It is so superficial. And listen, I'm that one, and people's interpretation of me can be really off the beaten path. Because it's really not about, different things of the accusations that are made. And I let, say what you want to say. I stopped trying to chase down stuff and defend myself. And really, you're probably not going to get too much of anything out of me unless you get me really angry. And 9 times out of time, once I get angry, somebody's in trouble. Once I get really angry, somebody's in trouble because I'm getting ready to have a double-barrel shotgun and I'm going to shoot everything moving, which is not good. So I'm not bragging about that. I just know that is typically my MO. You're not going to get the truth out of me as far as what I really feel about this scenario unless you really piss me off. Then I'm going to unload with double barrel. And you're still not going to know the truth about it because I'm only going to give you the superficial surface. I'm not going to tell you the deep down because number one, I feel like if you really wanted to know the deep down, you'd make effort to know me. I was told, talk, don't care who talks, it's just talk. Come on, truck driver. You better talk to me. You better talk to me. And so at the end of the day, please, it's based on how we're handled, not on what you say. And on this instance, I'm not just talking about the caregiver as parents. We're caregivers of one another in a relationship. We are caregivers of each other in a relationship. So understand, it's about, like Truck said, talk, don't care who talk, it's just talk. Come on with that, Truck. You better come on with that. And that's a true thing. So this is what we have to make an assessment. Because at the end of the day, something down in my Shondo says, if it's going to stay superficial and surface, I'm not going to waste my time. Now, that, however, is a part of my avoidance attachment. So we'll talk about that in just a second, but that's an issue. I'm not just putting that out there like, oh, and there you have it. And that's the way it is, as Walter Cronkite used to say. No, that's a problem. That's a problem that needs to be dealt with. All right. The child is not able to make quality judgments about care it receives. It will accept the care as it's given. but the child will still feel gaps or failures to provide for them as painful experience. Okay. The child will still feel gaps or failures to provide for them as painful experiences. When what I need is not there, when that gap, and for some of us, it's a big gaping hole, it's a whole chasm. It's a painful experience. You can still smile, you can still talk, you can still act like everything's good. Deep down, it's a painful experience, and that pain just keeps getting worse and worse. Secure attachment is classified by children who show some distress when their caregiver leaves. Okay, so this, I'm gonna talk that through because you can't really see that real well. So they talk about when a child is taken, I'm gonna use a daycare for an example, or a babysitter. When that child is taken and there's a secure relationship between the child and the parent, when the parent leaves, the child is going to express some distress. It should, now this is the idea. Some distress should be shown when the caregiver leaves, but this is what happens when the caregiver leaves. It will then redirect back to the environment, and the child is okay. It may need some reassurance initially or whatever, but then the child is okay. Then when the parent comes back, this is for a secure attachment. I'm going to talk it through. A secure attachment, that child is going to be happy to see the parent, but then the child is going to return back to the environment. It's not like the child is just, oh my God, and becomes real clingy and all of that. Okay, that's a secure attachment. When the child can have either the parent removed from the scenario and show temporary distress, but then go back to the environment, then have the parent come back and show that moment of joy and excitement. My parent or my caregiver is back, and then go back to environment. That's healthy, where you're able to incorporate the environment and the caregiver and do it in a way that's secure, that shows the child has security. Now, the other elements of that, when a child is in a scenario where there is insecure situation. Let me see if I have, I don't have, that's get ready to go to imprinting. I want to finish this concept. So when the parent leaves and the child is just absolutely in distress, but can never readjust and begin to take in the environment, there's an issue, because that child should be able to temporarily experience distress. That's appropriate. But if that child stays in distress, and can I say this? Some parents like that child to stay in distress, which says there's a problem with the child. I mean, with the parent, I'm sorry. When a parent's like, ooh, child, I left and Billy Bob just couldn't stop crying. Baby, if you are feeling happy that Billy Bob just couldn't stop crying because that's feeding some kind of lack in you, how needy they are of you, there's a problem with you. Okay? Billy Bob should be able to be distressed for a minute and then interact with his environment. By the same token, when you come back, Billy Bob should be happy and, be able to keep it moving. Now, these are the places where we start looking at the different manifestations of what's going on in the way that attachment is not secure. When that child, when you come back in the environment and the child totally ignores you like you never walked in the room, that says that child is already at a place in relationship with you where you've not responded to them in a way where they're already feeling some level of abandonment, some level of disconnect, some level where they're like, hey, you in the room, but I'm not going to acknowledge that you're here. And as a matter of fact, it may even come across in some level of anger, some level of ambivalence. Something's going down with that relationship that is much bigger than the fact that I got dropped at the babysitter or I got dropped at daycare, and this is the way I'm responding to you coming back. A secure and healthy attachment is going to show excitement at the return of the caregiver. But again, there's still going to be the ability to return back into the environment and be aware of what's going on. It doesn't become a very clingy, It's balanced. And I think these are some areas that when we start talking and we start identifying, a lot of people like that truck. They love the idea of, oh, my child the child is actually feeding a lack that they have for being and feeling that they are necessary, that they are important, that they matter. And so this child's behavior going off the deep end, like, I just lost my mom, I just lost my mind because my caregiver walked out of the room. And I've actually seen my sister operated a care facility, and I've actually seen, parents that look back in and keep looking back in and won't leave the window. Well, get out of the window, because you know that Billy Bob sees you, but they want Billy Bob to see them, and they're almost grinning and smiling because Billy Bob's in there pitching a fit and falling in it and is feeding and stroking their ego. And I'm like, you and Billy Bob have an imbalanced relationship, and parent, you are the problem. I said what I said, and I'll add to it before I take it back. Now, in psychology and ethology, imprinting is a relatively rapid learning process that occurs during a particular developmental phase of life and leads to corresponding behavioral adaptations. Now, let me put that in an example. Probably the easiest way I can know how to describe imprinting, so we know what we're talking about here. A duck by nature. Ducklings, whatever that first large object is that's moving, a duckling is imprinted. There's an imprint that happens with that duckling, and that duckling will automatically start following whatever that image is. 99% of the time, it's the mother duck, but it can be other things outside of the mother duck, and because that is the nature of a duck, that it imprints. When it talks about imprinting, is a relatively rapid learning process, something that occurs during a particular developmental phase of life. So for the duck, it's like as soon as they come and they're born, they immediately go through that rapid process. Large item moving, that must be my mama duck. And it'll automatically start following it. Okay, that's imprinting. Now, imprinting also happens in humans, and we have to be very, very aware of it because that process is a developmental phase. They say really imprinting in children starts from birth, or actually, no, let me take that back. Let's get some clarity because it actually identifies in utero. When you are in the womb, mothers and fathers understand, but particularly for the mother, that child, your emotions, your attitudes, your drama, your joys, your anxiety, your grief, all of that's being imprinted to that child in utero. Then when the child is actually born, those experiences continue on. And they say the largest imprinting is done in us from the womb till about 7, 8, 9 years of age. Now, think back over your life. And by 7, 8, 9 years of age, I had many, many traumatic things happen to me personally. And at the same time, there was a whole lot of imprinting in my environment that was being imprinted, that I can definitely attest to the fact that my corresponding behavioral adaptations, I can almost run every last one of them back to those very, very primitive primary years, or how I dealt with situations may have come after those primary years, but how I dealt with those situations, I can almost guarantee you I can go back to those corresponding behavioral adaptations came from, and I can kind of trace it back to this, that, and a third. All right, so that's imprinting. Now, the fear system will drive out the care system. They cannot coexist. So I'm imprinted I've picked up all this stuff from my mom in utero, and I'm gonna say my dad too, and those in my environment, because all of this, the baby is picking up. Listen, we are spiritual. We are spiritual. Somebody I was listening to the other day, and they said we always say we're bodies and we have spirit. And the individual said the thing that I've been engaged in is my awareness now is saying I'm spiritual. I just happen to have a body. You know, chew on that if you can chew on that. We always say we're bodies that have a spirit, but this person said as they've moved and they're, you know, they are spirit, and they're realizing I'm just a spirit with a body. So I am fully spirit with just a body. That's probably a better way to say it. So if we look at the fear system, again, developed from insecure, unhealthy levels of attachment, will drive out the care system, and the two cannot coexist. All right. So then this brings us to one of the studies that they did, which is called, where am I at on my time? Because I still have the four. Okay, I got 9 minutes left, so I'm not going to get to the four different types, but that's okay. I told them we may do this. What's today? Wednesday. We'll come back on Friday and finish up. Kangaroo mother care. So what they did was you all have probably been more familiar with this experiment, where they took children and put them in places where they immediately removed them from their mothers, and they allowed some to be where they were receiving touch and nurturing interaction, and then they took the others and deprived them. And so you saw a stark difference between those that were not getting the touch, those that were not having the interaction, were not thriving, were languishing, even in a process of dying. And then you had those that were receiving, and they were thriving and going on to another level. So then the kangaroo effect, they started with premature low birth weight babies, and then allowed that to actually translate over and add in a child in that premature state. Just like the mother, the kangaroo puts that baby in the pouch and is given skin to skin contact habitually, constantly, deliberately. That skin to skin contact is a healing factor. Touch is so important. It's a healing factor. Then even taking those in the experiment of having been deprived the contact and the touch, and then putting him in kangaroo mother care. So that essence becomes, and I'm going to say this, sometimes it may be necessary for us to, let me go back and again, kangaroo mother care, you can't read there what it says, but I'm kind of giving you an overview of the concept and so on and so forth in a nutshell. Taking the time first and foremost with yourself. Sometimes, you know, and again, mutuality of I and him and he and me. When Jesus said, I and my Father are one, I and him and he and me. So you have these two, I'm going to have that same concept with yourself. You may actually need to take yourself, or even if you look at the spirit as your kangaroo mother, and you may need to really give yourself kangaroo mother care, where you envelop yourself and allow yourself the opportunity to, and I'm gonna say more so, because I don't want to just have you in a isolated situation, just me, myself, and I want you to incorporate even being verbal with people that you trust, people that you love, and being able to say and provide yourself kangaroo mother care spiritually, trusting, hey, these are my needs. I need the touch. What did Cassandra say earlier? Play tag with somebody in the element of give them that touch. You touch them, allow touch back, incorporate touch and feeling and closeness and giving verbal as well as physical support, love, all of that. Give yourself kangaroo mother care. And especially for those that have been deprived. But by all means, I'm still going to come back to actual, literal skin-to-skin contact when and where available. The baby has no ego strength and cannot regulate their emotions. So the ego strength, it means how we manage our emotions. So our ego strength of a baby comes from the mother. So then they begin to talk about how important it is that wherever the nurturing is coming from, they need to also have support. And there's a lot that I could say about that, but I got 5 minutes. The attachment patterns laid down in childhood will continue in adult relationships. They will impact on all relationships, and many of the relationship problems that couples face can be traced back to their attachment styles. Now that's a word. That's a word. That's a whole word. I'm going to stop right there because I want to, I threw in a couple of books. If you want to read more, The Challenge of Attachment for Caregiving is one. And To Be Met as a Person, that's another one if you want those books. And then I also have a video. If you'll reach out to me one way or another, either by send me an email, the Spiritual Thought Leader at what is Microsoft? Well, okay, let's go. Regina Stillman. Just Regina Louise at gmail.com. Just Just Regina Regina Louise Louise at gmail.com. I know that one right off the bat. The Spiritual Thought Leader, I should know that one off the top of my head. It is The Spiritual Thought Leader. I just can't remember what the last part of it was. If somebody remembers, throw it in the chat. I'll get these to you. There is a video. It's 2 hours, and I actually share it with people. It's 2 hours long, but it really, really goes in depth, and it's very, very good. It goes in depth about attachment theory, and I recommend it. It's very, very good. If you want to watch that, I can get that to you as well. But again, these are books, literature, and we'll get into the rest of this on tomorrow. I want to definitely talk about the 4 different types because I want you, this is groundwork. All of this is preliminary groundwork, and I hope that you're kind of getting a gist of how it goes, because when we actually get into the attachment types, I need this to already be somewhat clear in your mind so that, it's like basic math. There are some basics I need you to know before we can get into algebra. So I hope that you all are tracking with me. Friday, I will definitely, I promise you, I'm going to start with the 4 types. This is foundational. I'm trying to get you on par with what I'm talking about. Then we're going to talk about the 4 types on Friday. Come back on Friday. I appreciate everybody. You guys I know there was a lot to take in. I did a lot of talking, and hopefully you were able to glean something from the slides and what I was saying and from the explanations. Now, let's take that and put it to work, because what is our spiritual journey? Your journey is to find your attachment style. And I promise you, it will help you understand almost every relationship that you have. It will help you understand your relationship with your caregivers, your parents. It will help you understand your relationships with your siblings. It will help you understand your relationship with your children. And it will definitely help you to understand your relationships with your significant others and your friends. So come back on Friday, and we're going to jump into the real meat of this. Thank you, KB Browns. You're so kind. I try, and I hope this by all means is beneficial because I want us to be connected. I want us to be fulfilled. I want us to be happy. I want us to love each other in a wholesome way. I want us to love each other in a connected kind of way. It's really frustrating, and many of you can relate to this maybe in a past intimate relationship. There's my alarm. Where you needed depth of relationship and that person could only meet you on the surface. There's nothing more frustrating than to need deep friendship and deep relationship, and all that a person can give you is on the surface, very superficial, and again, going inward. That relationship may not be the relationship for you. They may not have the capacity. And I've talked about capacity before, but we'll talk about capacity on Friday. You can't take a 10-ton aquarium and the capacity of a 5-gallon fish tank cannot sustain and cannot be sustained with a 10-ton aquarium. So capacity makes a big difference. And you can love somebody. Hear me when I say this. You can love somebody and capacities don't match. Hello. Can I say it once more and again? You can love somebody and capacities don't match. And some of our attachments are unhealthy in that instead of acknowledging that those capacities don't match, we will keep trying to fit a square peg into a round hole and then be completely frustrated when it doesn't work and unfulfilled and angry and all that other stuff. So that's real talk, Truck. That's real talk, Stacy. So, but again, the look is always inward. The look is always inward. How did I let myself get here? And always from a place of love. Always from a place of love. You know, my fear is my love crying out for safety. All right. I love y'all. I love you. I really do. Friday, come back, and I hope you guys are ready to talk because I'm gonna put the 4 types of attachment out there, and then we're gonna hash it out. Because I want everybody to become as real and honest with yourself as you can be. And we're going to talk about these attachment types and see how it all plays out. All right. Foundation is laid. See you on Friday. Listen, everybody that's here, truck driver, KB Browns, Cassandra Woke, Stacy 546. I don't want to miss everybody. Any Dalen 628. I love you. J Trey, I love you. Coming on up, and let's see. I'm just coming up. I know Diane is in here. Chef Nobi's in here. Is there anybody else? I don't want to have missed anybody that actually was in the chat. Everybody, I love you. Oh, Crystal Method, there you are. Come on. So much love to you. To everybody that came through, so much love coming to you. Thank you. I hope this is helping you to see something about yourself so you can tap into your spirituality with no resistance. What are we doing? We're reducing the weight and the drag, and we're optimizing the thrust and the lift because we plan to fly higher. I love you so much. I'll see you on Friday night. Peace for your journey.
Pull up a chair. Yeah. We cut that cloth. Mind on freedom. Still in the talk. Welcome to the Chop House, where we break that script apart. Shopping love, carving futures from the dark. From the block to the boardroom, we gon' build this brick by brick.
We gon' build this brick by brick.
With a spiritual thought leader.
Spiritual thought.
Turning pressure into gifts.
Turning pressure into gifts.
Black gold in the bloodstream. Old pain in the bone. Turn chains into cheat codes. Turn maybe to our own. We talk vision, talk village, talk healing in the mix. Talk that on your back. Talk that on your bricks, yeah.
Welcome to the chop.
Where we break that script apart.
Where we break that script apart.
Sharpen love, sharpen love.
Shopping mouth.
Carving futures from the dark.
Carving futures from the dark.
From the block to the ballroom. We gon' build this brick by brick.
We gon' build this brick by brick.
With a spiritual thought leader.
Spiritual thought.
Turning pressure into gifts.
Turning pressure into gifts.
Pull up every generation. Pull a seat for the you, pass a mic like an heirloom. Every word, living proof. We talk money, talk mindset, talk joy as a right. Every cut is a compass, every story is light.
Welcome to the top.
Where we break that script apart.
Where we break that script apart.
Sharpen love, sharpen love.
Shopping mouth.
Carving futures from the dark.
Carving futures from the dark.
From the block to the ballroom. We gon' build this brick by brick.
We gon' build this brick by brick.
With a spiritual thought leader.
Spiritual thought.
Turning pressure into gifts.
Turning pressure into gifts.